Shalom Chavarim. As we enter a new solar new year, let's pray for peace worldwide and that we pitch our tents with Yahweh as we learn what we need to do in our lives. I would like, before we continue with Matthew, to take a look at Deuteronomy chapter 8. I think we need constant reminders to remember Yah in this age of phones beeping and emails and notifications from everywhere. The adversary is going to do everything to distract us. So let us remember Yah. Every commandment which I command you today, you must be careful to observe, that you may live and multiply and go in and possess the land of which swore Yahweh to your fathers. That you shall remember all the way that led you, Yahweh, your Elohim. This is 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. So he humbled you and allowed you to hunger and fed you with manna, which not you did know, nor did know your fathers, that he might make you know that not by bread alone shall live man, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahweh lives man. Your garments not did wear out on you, and your foot not did swell. This is 40 years. And you should know in your heart that as chastens a man his son, Yahweh, your Elohim, chastens you. Therefore you shall keep the commandments of Yahweh, your Elohim, to walk in his ways and to fear him, Yareh. For Yahweh Elohim is bringing you into a land good, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs that flow out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey. Now, this verse is important at this time of the year because there is a holiday which is called the New Year for Trees. It's called Tu B'Shvat, celebrated in January. So go hug a tree and look at these species here: wheat, barley, vines, grapes, fig trees, figs, pomegranates, olives, and honey. Those are the 7 species that we remember on Tu B'Shvat. A land in which without scarcity you will eat in bread, nothing you will lack, any in which a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper. And when you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless Yahweh your Elohim for the land good which he has given you. Beware to not that you forget Yahweh your Elohim by not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command you today. Lest when you have eaten and are full, and houses beautiful have built and dwell in them, and when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold are multiplied to you, all that you have is multiplied. And when is lifted up your heart, and you forget Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, who led you through wilderness, that great and terrible, in which there were serpents, fiery, and scorpions, and thirsty land, where there was water, who brought for you? Who brought for you water out of the rock flinty? Who fed you with manna in the wilderness, which not did know your fathers, that he might humble you, that he might test you to do you good in the end? Then you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gained me wealth, this, and you shall remember Yahweh your Elohim, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is day this. And it shall be, if by any means you forget Yahweh your Elohim and follow other Elohims and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day that surely you shall perish. As the nations which Yahweh destroys before you, so you shall perish, because not you would be obedient to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. So you have here the blessing and the curse, and it's humbling and it's challenging, but it's an easy yoke. Matthew 21, and when he approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the side of the Mount of Olives, Yeshua sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go to this village that is in front of you, and immediately you will find a donkey that is bound and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything to you, tell them that they are needed for our master, and immediately he will send them here." And these things happened, so that the thing that the prophet spoke might be fulfilled. For that prophet said, "Say to the daughter of Zion, behold, your king comes to you meek and mounted upon a donkey, and upon a colt, the foal of a donkey." 189 is a technicality, and 190 comes from Zechariah 9:9. So let's read chapter 9, prophecies against Israel's enemies. The burden of the word of Yahweh against the land of Hadrach and Damascus, its resting place, for are on Yahweh the eyes of men and all the tribes of Israel. And against Hanath, which borders on it, and against Tyre and Sidon, though they are wise very. For built Tyre a tower herself, and heaped up silver like the dust, and gold like the mire of the streets. Behold, Yahweh will cast her out, and he will destroy in the sea her power, and she by fire will be devoured. See it, Ashkelon, and fear, and Gaza, and shall be sorrowful very, and Ekron, for he dried up her expectation, and shall perish the king from Gaza, and Ashkelon not shall be inhabited. And shall settle a mixed race in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. And I will take away the blood from his mouth, and the abominations from between his teeth. But he who remains, even he shall be for our Elohim, and shall be like a leader in Judah, and Ekron like a Jebusite. And I will camp around my house because of the army, because of him who passes by and him who returns. And no shall pass through them more an oppressor, for now have I seen with my eyes. Rejoice greatly, daughter of Zion. Shout, daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you, just and having salvation. He is lowly and riding on a donkey, and a colt, the foal of a donkey. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, and shall be cut off the bow, battle. And he shall speak peace to the nations, and his dominion shall be from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. As for also you, because of the blood of your covenant, I will set free your prisoners from the pit. They are no waterless, and return to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. Even today I declare double that I will restore to you. For I have bent my bow, Judah, the bow fitted with Ephraim, and raised up your sons, Zion, against your sons, Greece, and made you like the sword of a mighty man. Then Yahweh over them will be seen, and will go forth like lightning, his arrow, and Yah, the trumpet will blow and go with whirlwinds from the south. Yahweh of hosts will defend them, and they shall devour and subdue stones with sling stones, and they shall drink and roar as if with wine, and they shall be filled with blood like basins, like the corners of the altar. and will save them, Yahweh, their Elohim, in that day as the flock of his people. For they shall be like the jewels of a crown, lifted like a banner over his land. For how great is its goodness, and how great its beauty! Grain, the young men, and new wine shall make thrive the young women. Verse 6, the disciples departed as and did as Yeshua had commanded them. And they brought the donkey and the colt and placed their garments upon the colt, and Yeshua mounted upon it. And a multitude of crowds were spreading out their clothes in the road, and others were cutting branches from the trees and cast them on the road. The crowds and those who were going before him and coming after him were crying out and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Master Yahweh. Hosanna in the highest. Psalm 118, 25 and 26. Hosanna means deliver us or save us. The multitudes were recognizing that he is Yahweh's Mashiach and therefore expecting that he will become their king. See Hosanna in the appendix. Psalm 118, verse 25. I pray, Yahweh, save now, I pray, Yahweh, send prosperity now. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. We have blessed you from the house of Yahweh. Verse 10. And when he entered into Jerusalem, all the city was stirred up and saying, Who is this man? And the crowds were saying, This is the prophet Yeshua, who is from Nazareth of Galilee. And Yeshua entered into the temple of Elohim and drove out all who were buying and selling in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those who were selling doves. And he said to them, It is written that my house will be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a cave of bandits. Okay, 193 is Isaiah 56, and 194 is Jeremiah 7. Isaiah 56, verse 7. And even them I will bring to mountain my holy, and make them joyful in house of my prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house, a house of prayer, shall be called for all nations. Jeremiah 7:11. Has a den of thieves become house this which is called by my name? Upon in your eyes, even I, behold, I have seen it, says Yahweh. It's good to see the connections to the Old Testament. Verse 14, and the blind and the lame in the temple drew near to him, and he healed them. But when the chief priest and the Pharisees saw the wonders that he did, and the children who were crying aloud in the temple and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were displeased. And they were saying to him, Do you hear what these are saying? Yeshua said to them, Yes. Have you never read that from the mouth of children and infants you have fashioned praise? Psalm 118 and Psalm 8. Psalm 118, 25. I pray, Yahweh, save now. I pray, Yahweh, send prosperity now. Psalm 8. To the chief musician on the instrument of Goth, a psalm of David. Yahweh Eloheinu, how excellent is your name in all the earth, who have set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and nursing infants you have ordained strength because of your enemies, that you may silence the enemy and the avenger. Let's listen to our babies and infants. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have ordained, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you visit him? For you have made him lower a little than the angels, and with glory and honor, hakavod, you have crowned him. You have him You made him to have dominion over the works of your hands. All things you have put under his feet, sheep and oxen, all, and even the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea that pass through the paths of the seas. Yahweh Eloheinu, how excellent your name in all the earth. So these days, think about what children have gone through in the past few years, and it's time to listen to their needs and show them the path. And he left them and departed outside of the city to Beth Ani and lodged there. And in the morning, when he hungered, he returned to the city, and he saw a certain fig tree by the road, and came to it, and he did not find anything on it except only leaves. And he said to it, "Let there never again be fruit on you forever." And at once that fig tree withered. The fig tree is first mentioned in Genesis 3:7. The law of first mention provides a remez, a hint of the symbolic meaning of the fig tree. It is connected to the tree of knowledge of good and evil and relates to judgment between good and evil. The fig tree represents the Beit Din, the house of judges, or the Sanhedrin, which in that generation were found wanting and without fruit. See the parables of the fig tree, Matthew 24:32 and Luke 13:7. In Luke 10, 70 are sent out, correlating with the 70 elders of Israel in Shemot, or Exodus 24. Oftentimes, the olive tree, which represents Israel, is erroneously confused with the symbol of the fig tree. So as we hug our trees this month, let's remember, are our trees bearing fruit? Verse 20, and the disciples saw and marveled and were saying, "How quickly the fig tree withered." Yeshua answered and said to them, "Truly I say to you that if you have faith and no doubt, not only this miracle of the fig tree will you do, but even if you say to this mountain, 'Be removed and fall into the sea,' it will happen." Let's not do that. Verse 22, and everything you ask for in prayer and believe, you will receive. So these are the keys: asking and believing. Important concept highlighted there. Verse 23, and when Yeshua came to the temple, the chief priests and elders of the people drew near to him while he was teaching and were saying to him, "By what authority do you accomplish these things, and who gave you this authority?" Yeshua answered and said to them, "I will also ask you a certain question, and if you answer me, I will also tell you by what authority I do these things." Verse 25, where is the immersion of Yochanan from? Is it from heaven or is it from men? And they were reasoning among themselves, and they were saying that if we say from heaven, he will say to us, "Upon what reason did you not believe him?" And if we say from men, we are afraid of the crowd, for all of them regard Yochanan as a prophet. They answered and said to him, "We do not know." Yeshua said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. But what do you think? A certain man had two sons, and he drew near to the first one and said to him, 'My son, go today and work in the vineyard.' But he answered and said, 'I do not desire it.' But later he regretted it and went. And he drew near to the other and said likewise to him. And he answered and said, 'I will, my master,' and did not go. Which of these two did the will of his father?" They said to him that the first one did. Yeshua said to them, "I say truly to you that the tax collectors and harlots will precede you into the kingdom of Elohim. For Yochanan came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But the tax collectors and the harlots believed him. But you did not even repent when you saw it, that you might believe him." Hear another parable. There was a certain man, a master of a house, and he planted a vineyard. Around it he set a fence, and he dug a winepress in it. And he built a tower in it, and he leased it to laborers and went on a journey. And when the time of the harvest arrived, he sent his servants to the laborers that they might send to him some of the fruit of his vineyard. And the laborers seized his servants. Some they beat, and some they stoned, and some they killed. And again he sent other servants that were more than the first, and they did likewise to them. And lastly, he sent his son to them, saying, perhaps they might be ashamed before my son. But when the laborers saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and seize his inheritance. And they seized him, took him outside the vineyard, and killed him. Therefore, when the master of the vineyard comes, what should he do to these laborers? They were saying to him, he will savagely destroy them, and he will lease the vineyard to other laborers, those who will give him the fruit in its season. Yeshua said to them, have you never read in the scriptures of the stone that the builders rejected? The same became the head of the corner. From the presence of the Master Yahweh came this stone, and is a marvel before our eyes. Because of this, I say to you that the kingdom of Elohim will be taken from you and will be given to a people who bear fruit. And whoever falls upon this stone, it will destroy. And when the chief priests and Pharisees heard that his parables, they knew that he spoke against them. And they sought to arrest him, but they were afraid because of the crowd, as they were regarding him as a prophet. 198 is Psalm 118, 22, and 23. Psalm 118, verse 22. The stone which rejected the builders has become the chief cornerstone, the Rosh, the head cornerstone. Verse 23, doing of Yahweh was this, it is marvelous in our eyes. So footnote 199 on the verse 43, because of this I say to you that the kingdom of Elohim will be taken from you and will be given to a people who bear fruit. This warning applies to every generation that upholds man's religious traditions as majority. Many leaders of the chosen people openly deny Torah and Mashiach in favor of their own traditions, making themselves enemies of the kingdom of Elohim. So the message here is to question, are the traditions we're following coming from Torah and Mashiach, or are they of men? It's up to each of us to decide and live our lives accordingly. Thank you.